Hello, everybody. Welcome to Just Whelmed, episode 6. Looks like we just got everybody here in just the nick of time. So I'm gonna send out the usual invites and let's get started. So, dang it. Every time I forget to pull up Joe's before start. Oops. Okay, there we go. Copy. And all right, usual usual invites are sent. Looks like all right. Let's just wait for everybody to get in, and then we'll start. All right, looks like Joe's in.
Hello, hello.
Hello. I don't know why I just don't send these out before I start at this point.
Eh. How about that local random generic sports team?
Yeah. Looks like Tom's PC is lagging a bit.
Or that Sportsmaster team.
All right, so I guess I'll start off with the introduction. This episode we are covering the 4 episodes Misplaced, Image, and Agendas, which as I said in the description is probably my favorite group of 4 episodes that we're covering. Like overall, how do you think?
Of which one? Any of them?
Of any of the groupings that I have for Just Whelmed, this is probably my favorite.
It's really hard because I really liked last week's grouping for like 2 episodes.
Yeah.
But really hated one of the episodes. This week's grouping I really enjoyed. Yeah, all the episodes from this week's grouping were really good. Really, really good. For various reasons.
Yes. Which we will get into. Probably very in-depth.
Yeah.
Ashley agrees that she enjoyed all of them.
No, she's sitting like right here.
I know, but I'm reading her answers.
Her
I mean,
chat.
because you can see that, but people that watch later, like Eric Monroe, won't see that. So I'm like, Tom's here. There we go.
Yay!
Yay!
Man, Tom, it's like I haven't seen you in ages.
He's looked like he's frozen a bit.
Am I?
Oh, there we go. Yeah, looks like your lagging has propagated to the actual.
It looks like it's clearing up.
Yeah, it looks like it.
That's good because I cannot fix it in any way.
Okay. So, Tom, you and I were talking when we were putting together the thumbnails that you also agree that this is probably the best grouping of episodes so far.
So far, I wasn't unable to rewatch the 4th one on this list, but I know the episode pretty well. It's one of my favorite ones. Yeah, I mean I don't remember the episode what the title's called, but between
Agendas.
That one and
Agendas.
Between Agendas and Coldhearted, man, good too. But there's just so much good storytelling in this episode.
I actually, not ironically, but on the flip side, I think I enjoyed Misplaced and Image even more.
All right, so let's get right into it then with Misplaced. So we start off the episode. It's 5 Chaos Sorcerers, and I was smart this time. I pulled up Wikipedia before I started talking, and to go through them, it's Claire and the Witch Boy, Wizard, Wotan's returning, Felix Faust, and Blackbriar Thorn. It's a nice hodgepodge of characters. And they all get together. They start working on something mysterious. And then, of course, it cuts back to the cave where they're doing the most mundane things, where they're, just, putting away groceries, and then all of a sudden,
Did we lose Eric?
And then he dropped out.
Oh no! Someone's casting the spell.
Oh God! I didn't know he didn't turn 18.
and then afterwards, it's just like we have this.
Hold on. Eric, 30 seconds there. You said, and then your audio and video just cut out.
Oh yeah, it's almost like I planned that completely. That's like neither of you understood that I did that completely on purpose.
Timing was good. Timing was good.
Applause for everyone watching. Coming at home.
So all of a sudden, all of the adults just vanish, and it's sort of just like this scramble to try to figure out what is going on.
Yep.
And of course, one of the places where we find out where all the adults vanish is at Billy Batson's house, where his uncle just seemingly vanishes.
And
he's like,
transform to save the day until he notices the news person is also gone.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, Captain Marvel's an adult. If I turn into him, will I disappear too? So it's just
Solomon just bleeds over.
Yeah, it's so it's this nice like Captain Marvel episode, I would say, for at least the first half of it, where it's well, I guess more so it's a Billy Batson episode where we really get into the actual thought process of Billy Batson, and it leads to probably one of the better moments of the episode later on. But we find out it's like everybody's like trying to figure out what's going on. They have to go around collecting all of the kids that are just abandoned by this. So, and we get Wally zipping around. We get Superboy saving a whole bunch of little kids from car wrecks, and then being calmed by the fact that he's got the Superman S on his chest.
Yep.
It's like, if you really think about it, this episode has a lot of parallels with Failsafe, but like completely different. And I like the way they did that, even down to the message that they send out saying that all kids stay calm. We're working on it. We're trying to figure this out.
Yep.
And of course, on the flip side of this, it turns out that at the same time, when they were all talking, for the adults, all the kids just straight up disappeared, and everybody's in a full-on panic mode, especially Zatara, because he's very, very protective of Zatanna.
Yep.
And I love how the same exact conversation between, I think it was Robin and Wally, or no, was it Aquaman and Aladdin?
It was Aqualad and Wally and Batman and Zatara having almost the exact same conversation.
Especially when it comes to the Dr. Fate helmet and stuff like that. Like, and it's not even just the exact same conversation. Practically, the exact same words are used in some point. Like "Are we that desperate?" Not yet.
Yeah, because it's like Dr. Fate. It's a very the helmet of Dr. Fate is a very powerful artifact, but there's a lot of drawbacks to using it, as we find out later in the episode.
We've already found out a couple of times. Like the two people that have donned it already have barely been able to get away from it. It was only because of Kent that they were.
So Billy Batson, first thing he tries to do, he tries to access the Zeta tubes, which doesn't work because there's no data for Billy Batson.
Yep, which is really funny. Like he says it a couple of times, nothing happens, and then finally tries the override command, and it's just like, okay, I'll scan you, and it's like, yeah, I don't recognize you, and the look on his face is amazing because he's just like, well, F you then.
So he has to try to find a way to the cave because he saw the transmission that all the teenage heroes made. So he's like, I need to get to the cave. I need to help out as best I can. So he goes to an Air Force base where there is one single, kid there with their pilot's license, who's just about to turn 18 at the stroke of midnight, and everything just sort of goes to hell when midnight strikes, and she disappears. and probably one of the better quotes of the episode. It's Captain Marvel might have the courage of Achilles, but Billy Batson has the courage of Billy Batson.
And this is when he loses wisdom.
Achilles is leading off too, like the wisdom that Joe was saying.
Yeah. So he shouts Shazam, turns into Captain Marvel, and then one of the funniest parts of the episode where it looks like he's flying Wonder Woman's invisible jet, which is why I use that as the preview image for this group of episodes. I said it's just a great sight. Just look at Captain Marvel like,
oh.
It's like, but then
Ashley made a point of pointing out that like was it Amber? I think was the girl's name, or Angela?
I think Amber, or something like that.
She was super lucky that he decided to try that out. Otherwise, she would have fallen to her death.
Oh yeah. So Captain Marvel makes it to the cave. Turns out Captain Marvel makes it to the cave and finds Batman and Zatara waiting for him.
Which is and they're really surprised to see him, and he's really surprised to see them.
It's not so much that they're really surprised; they've just been wondering where he is because they haven't heard anything from him. It's like, you're back. It's like, where have you been? And Batman's able to figure it out. So it's like, you can travel between the worlds. So then they use Billy to have this conversation between both the Justice League and the team. Once Billy says Shazam, turns back into Billy Batson, and then he has this conversation. Has to convince the team that he is Captain Marvel, and he does that by telling Wally, "Do I have to get you nachos and pineapple juice anymore, Wally?" He's like, "Okay then."
Like, I really wish Billy had a mic at that point, because he's like, "Do I need nachos and pineapple juice to get on your good side?" Tink.
Yeah, there was no mic to be dropped, and this is where they have to come up with their plan to take out the crystal or whatever that those 5 Masters of Chaos have used to split the world. So they essentially have a 2-pronged attack where the Justice League goes after 4 of the sorcerers, and then the team has to go against Clarion, which Zatanna just sort of hides away the Helmet of Fate just in case they need it.
Yep.
A fake rock.
And in a fake rock. So we've gone from it just being out in the open with Wally to being hidden in a duffel bag to being hidden under a fake rock. Not very very well hidden, that Mask of Fate. Now is it?
What was your point you were going to make, Tom?
Oh, okay. Billy Batson doesn't have an ID to get through the Zeta tubes, but everyone in the army does.
Again, I think that was what's his name, Martian Manhunter overriding it from the Hall of Justice. I don't know if that works, but also it was a psychic dream. So
yeah. For all we know, none of those people actually even exist. But
I don't know.
anyway.
They're named characters, okay? When a character gets named.
I mean, sure, but yeah. But
Sportsmaster is such a troll.
Yeah, Sportsmaster is such a troll. We should talk about that. How in the adult world, Sportsmaster goes up to Star Labs out of uniform, incites a riot, and the Riddler sneaks in and grabs a case that we later find out is that Sea Star from Downtime that they sent to the surface world because their lab got destroyed.
Yep.
See, all part of their plan. It's so weird that separating kids from adults was a distraction. And Ashley saying, saying how much she loves that the kid dimension is much more calm and orderly than the adult dimension, which it was.
I also love that like Artemis is trying to comfort all these kids and she's terrible at it. She's like, this
She
song
had a
that's
horrible.
yeah.
But it's all three of those songs have the same tune, so it's easy to forget. Except when you get to the ABCs.
What's
What'd
up?
you say, Tom?
In her life, though, nobody sang her lullabies. You know what I mean? She
it totally is.
Really cool. Like I even like when Connor saved that baby. Like, or was that baby?
Yeah,
like
that is true. He was never a baby.
Yeah, but he had the mentality of a baby at one point, just a really fussy, angry baby. I think this whole plan was kind of smart. I wish they used it for something more. Because that the thing comes back up later that they get. If this was like a finale episode and where they relied on the Justice League a lot, it would have been a cool use. But what because everybody has different weaknesses, but you know what everybody else also has? Younger person that they care for.
Yeah.
It's all going to be panicking. So it was such a brilliant plan on their part. A great plan of chaos.
Yes, as a plan of 5 Masters of Chaos would do. It is a letter. So we get to the fight. They all try to take out the different Masters of Chaos, and then of course going against Clarion, they're like, attack the cat again, and then it's like, no, I'm not going to let you do that again. That was too easy.
All the yarn.
And
I think Joe's familiars are making a riot right now.
Yeah, a little bit.
I'm hearing feedback from somebody's, and I'm trying to make sure it's not mine.
Yeah, it's Tom's.
Oh, okay. You guys get going.
Yeah,
I was testing. That's the whole reason I muted it. I was testing to make sure.
Yeah. And so we got, within the battle, Zatara takes the helmet of fate, becomes Dr. Fate. Everybody's like, no! No, don't do that! Because we now have our 3rd new conduit for Dr. Fate. And nobody's happy about that.
No. She wasn't even happy about that, but she was like, desperate enough now.
Yeah. And they're able to, take out all the Masters of Fate, pop the crystal out by Captain Marvel going underground and popping out, and Wally just, everybody just hammering down on Clarion's force field until Wally can just run in and grab it and throw it to Dr. Fate. They combine them back together, and Fate just does not want to give up Zatanna. Like,
nope.
Well, for him, it's the 3rd person. He's just like, you know what? How many times are you guys going to screw me over? I need someone. Okay, anyone.
So Zatara decides, no, you can't have my daughter. Take me instead. And it's this really sad moment where Fate is able to take off the helmet, but then Zatara has to take it from Zatanna and say, and give these nice touching words like, remember, I'll always love you. And then he becomes the new Dr. Fate permanently.
So the fact that she didn't know what was going on when she took the helmet, I thought was the saddest part.
Mm-hmm.
She wasn't prepared to say goodbye. She was just like, oh, good, you're here. And then he was like, peace. Now she has to deal with that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Fan of Zatara, just a good way to the fold again for me. Like, I'm not a big Zatara fan. That was a cool way to, encapsulate Fate, bring him in on board.
Yeah. And it's also a good way to have Zatanna join the team.
Yep.
Yeah,
because now her dad can't object.
Yeah. as she now lives in the cave with everybody with Superboy and Miss Martian. Like it's just like she just wants to be alone after that, and just cries because her dad's gone. Very once again very sad, and it's I don't know. There's really no good way to transition away from that.
She has a lot of boxes.
Yeah, she does have a lot of boxes.
Like, it's weird because the show opens. Sorry for the ambulance.
Mm-hmm.
It happens.
The show opens with them unloading boxes, and the show closes with them unloading boxes. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, that is a nice little bookend sort of thing.
But you know how Coldhearted opens?
Yeah, I do know how Coldhearted opens. It opens with Wally waking up on his 16th birthday.
I love that Ash and I both got a kick out of Wally's breakfast, his birthday breakfast. And I would imagine it is not too dissimilar from his everyday breakfast because,
I mean, yeah, probably.
Metabolism mixed with growing teenager.
Yeah,
Finally just got his cast off.
Yeah. Which, okay, there's something I need to bring up. Tom,
what's up?
There was one scene in Misplaced where Wally didn't have the cast. I concede to you,
man.
I'm like, they forgot the cast in this scene, and then they had it back in the next scene. I'm like, they just messed up. I have to bring it up now.
I like how the cast has become the meme. Yeah, his whole morning just it seems like it's like really too good to be true. Not only is it his birthday party going on later, but he gets a snow day.
Oh yeah, man.
Like that never happens.
A snow day in the middle of November. That's not suspicious at all.
We don't get much time until we find out right away pretty much that behind it. Which
but
I love
one of
that whole another episode that reminded me of the Booster Gold episode where they do their own thing while the team is handling a quote unquote bigger threat.
Yeah.
And I thought it was done really well.
And probably one of the better parts of this episode is that throughout the entire thing, we are with Wally the entire way, like even down to we get his internal monologue for the entire episode, because it's most of it's just him by himself, and it's just.
But we get those tie-ins with him watching and sports.
And cutting back to his family with his dad voiced by Steve Bloom, very obviously voiced by Steve Bloom, because it's just him.
Hey man, guy needs work.
Yeah. I mean, does he at this point? He's literally everything.
Taking over the world.
The man was like 8 different characters in Digimon. I think he's good.
He is the same character in 2 different anime where, both of those animes are wildly popular. Even though they're not the same character, they're basically the same character.
Right. And he was Tom from Toonami, or is now, I guess.
Back. Another resurgence.
Yep.
And right?
What'd you say?
The team gets called in?
Well, before the team gets called in, we get Wally's birthday, where he finally finds out that Connor and Megan are together.
He doesn't even find out. I love that Artemis's idea of a birthday present is like, can I be the one to tell him, please? Please. Please.
Yeah. It's just like, he just looks and he's like, oh, man.
Like, and it's just like the perfect timing, too. He's like, what? No way. And then it's got Miss Martian like hand feeding Superboy a piece of cake, and he's like, oh. For the fastest person on the team, he was the last one to cross that finish line.
Oh,
it's hard because he episode, he was continuing to call her babe, and it's just like,
Yeah.
how are you so obtuse? Like,
It's not just that. Like, Superboy is not exactly the most patient member of the team. How is he putting up with this crap?
Yeah, it's like,
if somebody I knew really well kept hitting on my girlfriend, I would.
I mean, Wally was one of the first people he met.
What's up?
Wally was one of the first people he met, he said.
Still. Like, I could see him being polite about it. Like, Wally, can you back off, please?
But, yeah, it's just. But of course, we also get a nice little scene between Robin and Zatanna, where he starts off. You think it's consoling about how her father's now Dr. Fate, and turns around. He's like, one day you'll get used to the idea of seeing Wally eat.
Yep. I like that Robin is like super friendly and emotionally open to her because he likes her. So of course he's gonna be a little more, I guess, Aster.
He did lose his parents, so anyone like, yeah, it needs to be acknowledged, but like, let it weigh you down. Like, laugh about some other things while you're dealing with some stuff, and it'll help.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure laughter helps him get through. I don't know, having the losing both of his parents incredibly young, and then his adoptive father figure never being around.
Yeah, that would definitely help a lot. But now the team gets called in. Everybody's getting to Arctic camo, and it's like, we get to see Arctic camo in real life and not just in the simulation as well.
Yeah.
So everybody lines up. And everybody lines up. Zatanna's even got her own Arctic camo, and everybody gets there's these 5 ice fortresses. The team gets split up onto 3 of them, and 2 of them are just going to be handled by the League. Gets an assignment, except for Wally, who he finds out that he instead needs to run a heart from Boston to Seattle.
And he's so upset.
Yeah, it's like, well, do you not want to run this heart? He's like, no. Well, how could I say no? And then it's like, seriously, how? And it's just like, it's his birthday, and he's like, it's supposed to be the team and the League fighting together, and he's not. Because it's like, that's the whole thing with Wally. He wants to be a hero more than anything else.
Not only that, I think he wants to be a hero alongside his team heroes, but like society considers the Justice League to be it. So for him to fight alongside Flash, like he even says later, like, I'm the only sidekick or partner who's missing.
Yeah, it is a little jarring that they decided to team up that entire group of Batman, Robin, Aquaman, Aqualad, and just Flash. It's just like, why'd you do that? Why'd you do that? You did that on purpose, Batman.
Zatanna just ran out of a dad the other day. Flash and Zatanna could have teamed up.
Yeah.
Sick.
But of course, Wally, reluctantly grabs the heart. He makes it to Boston. He's like, "Did anybody order a pizza?" It's like, this is no laughing matter. No, seriously, did anybody order me a pizza? I am hungry. And food, of course, plays. Yeah, food absolutely plays a big part in this episode, like it does for most episodes with Wally, because he needs to eat.
It's like Goku.
Yeah, he is the show's Goku. But mostly just for the eating. Like he's not going to win any martial arts tournaments at all.
Well, I mean, he might. I mean, he's really fast.
Yeah. True.
It's time for the episode question, Tom's episode question.
Mm-hmm.
All the Happy Harbor team in the Arctic camo, and Green Arrow, but all the other Justice League people are in regular. Like, it kind of defeats the purpose, no?
Yeah, a little bit.
Like some of the winter camo I get, because it's like they can, you know, it's warmer or something, I guess. But like the one that weirds me out is flashes. I'm like, does the density and ability to keep him warm change when his suit changes color?
It's mostly
Looking at
it's mostly Arctic camo for everybody else. It's you know, because it's all warmer, but you know, Wally's just change color.
it's weird because like I love the Arctic stuff, and I was like, okay, cool. And then it's like it just looks so weird next to like Robin next to Batman in the Arctic stuff was just like jarring before. That was kind of jarring because it's like weird and kind of team up with Batman that often.
I mean, it's clear that the only reason they did that is just for Wally to disappointedly change back to yellow.
That's a good
I
point.
mean, and that makes it worth it, though. So,
Guess I don't need stealth mode. And I'm just like, I don't know, man. If you're trying to run a heart 3,000 miles across, like stealth camo might help you.
it might just a bit for something that happens a little halfway down the line, but you know, he gets the heart. That's like we get, you know, these nice little flashes, of different parts of the country as they're passing through. Like there's a traffic jam of cars that didn't get out of the way fast enough. There's, you know, a huge crash that he has to make a detour around and through like the most food-filled alleyway in existence. Like that's a lot of food in one place.
Took a wrong turn into Blade Runner for a second.
It did, just a bit.
Just neon noodle shops.
And then, of course, about halfway down the line, he's about to pass a police checkpoint, and Vandal Savage decides to jump down from an overpass and fight.
So,
You know who I think would be best friends?
Who? What'd you say?
And Savage would be best friends.
with
Who in Vandal Savage? You keep cutting out.
Harmon Randall Savage.
Oh, Harm and Vandal Savage.
I can see that.
Yeah, a little bit.
So I now see like a Young Injustice series where it's like villains getting their own sidekicks and Harm is Vandal Savage sidekick.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, that would be okay. That would be a good way to bring back Harm, even though I don't ever want to bring back Harm.
I
We're talking in the third person. I was getting like, ah! It's like Vertigo.
I'm gonna throw this out there. Like I have more surface knowledge of the DC comics in general. So Vandal Savage still eludes me. Is he just generally better because he's just generally better? I know he's been around for like ever.
He's a caveman that got powers, so he's
Okay.
like the oldest person ever.
Yeah, I got that part. I know that much about him, but like I'm kind of like the source of his powers or what elude me. It's like with Superman or most other DC characters, you kind of get an idea where their powers come from. Aquaman is because he's Atlantean and awesome, and other ones in general, they have sources that have clearly defined. But Vandal Savage, I'm just kind of like, he's a dude.
Yeah, he's a caveman that got hit by a meteor. Do they? I think maybe. I don't know.
Thinking of it's essentially Meteor Man. A meteor came down, he touched it. It's like cosmic radiation.
Okay.
Vandal Savage is Meteor Man. Oh my god.
Now I'm thinking of was it 2001: A Space Odyssey? Like he was that one guy who was just like, I'm gonna touch this obelisk.
Yes.
Yeah, that's essentially exactly what he is.
Yeah.
Obelisk, I'm gonna do it.
All right, so Wally.
Wally figures out that he's wasting time.
Yeah, he wastes exactly 15 minutes fighting Vandal Savage. And he's like, "Oh shoot, I need to get back to doing this."
Yep.
And you know, he wastes no time. We keep cutting back to the different heroes fighting the different fortresses, and And of course we get to Seattle, where he's like, "Yeah, I got plenty of time. There's still like 20 minutes left." And he gets greeted by what he thinks is a doctor, saying that the girl had passed just 12 minutes ago. And he's like, "No." So the guy takes the heart. It's like, maybe this can be useful elsewhere, and he walks off. Wally just sort of walks into the hospital defeated, and another doctor walks up. It's like, "Kid Flash."
So
What do you want to say, Joe?
I just want to throw this out there. If that's where the episode ended for Wally, I feel it also would have been a very perfect like story.
Yeah.
Like it's basically Wally's like, today's perfect, everything's gonna go great, and then because Wally was basically acting like a child, this girl dies, and it would have been very much a good growing up moment for Wally. Like, hey, you're growing up, man. Gotta act like an adult.
But then, of course, an actual doctor walks up, said, "Kid Flash, good, finally, the queen needs her heart." He's like, the girl died, so now we're giving it to a queen? And the doctor's like, "No, the girl is the queen." And then Wally just sort of pieces it together. I've been conned. And then
it's that weird moment where it's that meme with all the math numbers floating in front of that person's face, and he's just like, no.
he tries to get to the guy that stole the heart. All the while, he is still running low because he ran out of food like halfway through.
Yep.
And it's like doesn't make it to the elevator, sees that's going down, runs down to the parking garage, and that's when he finds out exactly what's going on. He gets attacked by Count Vertigo, who didn't go to jail with the rest of the Injustice League because he has diplomatic immunity. A very lethal weapon too. Now, and we find out that the heart is supposed to go to his niece, the true heir of whatever country that is. I forget what country they run. Anybody remember?
I knew this. We just rewatched the episode. I don't remember the name of the country. It reminded me heavily of most Eastern European countries.
Yeah,
the ones that were like breakoffs of the Russian Empire, the USSR, but I can't remember what the smaller countries were called.
Right,
it's like Slovenia or some crap like that.
Yeah. So, of course, Vertigo does his thing by giving Wally vertigo by just doing his usual thing, and then Wally's just has to find his way around this weird mind beam thing that he does. It's probably it's an interesting power thing that he's got. He's got like a nice little weird crown that does it. And it's like he manages to get out of the way and is able to run fast enough to tackle him, take the helmet off, grab the heart, run back to the doctor, say, go now. And at this point, he is so spent between fighting Vandal Savage, fighting Vertigo, running across country that he faints. And it's like the next thing we see a newscast back with Wally's parents that the Queen has passed. She died on the operating table, and it's like, and everybody's like super like dour about it.
Well, because I guess somebody let Wally's parents know what he was going to be doing, because they even had this look on their face like, oh no, Wally, because
I do believe in the report that they did in fact say that. It's like due to the despite the efforts of Kid Flash.
Yeah.
Like, oh. And then
again, as a note, perfect way to end this episode. But moving on.
Yeah, but we move on more to Wally waking up in his hospital bed, and Count Vertigo is standing at the end of it. He's like, "Oh, poor boy." And of course, Count Vertigo, also voiced by Steve Bloom.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like one of the two very distinct voices he does. But his voice and his voice with an accent, or also a pitched up version of his voice. Those are the
I mean,
Steve.
they can't all be Grunt from Mass Effect 2.
True.
Also voiced by Stephen Bloom.
Yeah, right. He's everything. I was like, who's more things? Troy Baker, Nolan North, or Steve Bloom?
I would have to guess Stephen Bloom myself.
It just because of how long he's been at it, probably.
Yeah.
I would say Casey Kasem.
Oh yeah, he's been doing this since the Justice League, or Super Friends way back in the day, if not earlier. I know he was Shaggy, of course.
Yeah.
Shaggy.
And I mean, people definitely heard Casey Kasem's voice more out of anything, just because of how much he's been on national radio.
Yep.
And still is, despite
true,
his passing.
Weekend Top 40.
Yeah.
I'm Casey Kasem.
So Vertigo is so cliche supervillain right now.
He is very cliche. I'm like,
he even got caught monologuing.
He legitimately got caught monologuing when he said that you attempted to murder your niece, and then he just very clearly says it's cold regicide. And then of course, and while he's like, it's called, you're busted, and pulls back the curtain to reveal that the Queen is in fact still alive and recording.
And just has a little thing there. Is called regicide.
Yeah, it's like very, very nice clipping. And it's like it all comes down to his, diplomatic immunity gets revoked, and it's like he gets carted off to prison. Which is a nice way to end it. He loses his cane sword thing that he has, and while he goes to return it, and said that, and the Queen says, "It belongs to my country. It's an heirloom. I would like you to keep it as a reward or as a souvenir." And then you see this look on Wally's face, and then he doesn't go to put that on his souvenir rack. He instead puts the backpack that he's carried the heart in the entire episode.
Which shows growth.
It does show growth, because you got to have the right souvenir for the right mission.
Just like in the previous episode, Wally put the sippy cup up there as his souvenir.
Yeah. It's like, and it's in the, and he got in like such like just a throwaway scene where
way.
Yeah, it's like he's just carrying this kid around, and then kid hands him the sippy cup. He's like, "Oh, thanks," and then you see him happy to put that on the shelf as well. It's like, yeah, you got to have the right souvenir for the right mission.
Well, he had some ice when it melted.
And of course, we go to Batman, and he thinks that the 5 ice villains were behind the ice fortresses. But Hugo Strange is like, nah, they've just been in their cells this whole time, guys. I don't know what you're thinking, Batman.
Which is great, I guess, situational irony or whatever it is. Because we know for a fact Hugo Strange is up to no good.
Oh, yeah. Because, he's Hugo Strange.
And the fun part is Batman also probably knows this. He probably hasn't told anyone, but he's probably like, nah, you're up to no good, Hugo Strange.
Yeah. I'd hazard a guess that Batman has his suspicions. But, of course, that's the end of that episode. Now we move into the next 2 episodes, plus the one after this, are this character might be the mole episodes. So we got, Miss Martian this episode, Superboy next, and then next week we'll start off with the Artemis version of this episode. But, of course, Joe, you got something you want to say?
It's funny, too, because we're putting the Miss Martian might be the mole thing this episode, but it's really, it only comes up in part of the episode. And I don't think, like me personally, to me, it doesn't show that she is the mole. We can get into it later.
Yeah, we'll get into it when
We're gonna have
we're
to
wrapping
talk
up the
about it.
episode. Yeah,
We're
'cause
gonna have to talk about the whole mole thing later.
yeah. We'll save the most of the mole discussion for the end of the episode. Tom Zambino's just like mole.
Moly, 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 mole.
All right, so next episode 21, Image. Now we start off with we get Green Arrow and Black Canary walking in to find all the adults just staring around looking at the screen, and they're like, you two need to see this, and it's Connor and Black Canary training, and then ending in a kiss. And everybody's like and then it goes to the it's like
even Green Arrow's like, whoa, what the? And he's like, I don't know.
it's like, and Black Canary's like, stop the recording. No, that didn't happen. I don't understand. And it's like the Batman's
like, you should have stopped the recording.
It's like, just keep watching. And then of course we come to find out that it's in fact Miss Martian pretending to be Black Canary.
Green Arrow's reaction here was great.
Yeah, he just bursts up laughing.
he finds it funny. Black Canary does not.
The superheroes like Green Arrow and stuff that sometimes have lines in some of these episodes are the equivalent of like Ant-Man in Civil War. It's kind of like the character of all of us. It's kind of that's how a lot of us would respond to that situation. Like, oh, that's dark and creepy, but I'm thinking about your response to it and how we just took it, and it's funny in retrospect.
Yeah. And of course,
it's actually almost darker that it was Miss Martian pretending to be Black Canary than it would have been if it was actually Black Canary.
Yes.
So,
of course.
Which brings me to something I brought up to Ashley, I think in either the previous episode or this episode. Like, I just realized that, like, there's only one adult there, and the base was meant to be like the base of operations for the Justice Society or the original base for the Justice League.
Mm-hmm.
So like, you have like 3 teenagers, 2 of which are dating, that are basically alone all the time. And Red Tornado is like super pregnant. Huh?
Said Red Tornado understands all that.
Oh,
he's got it under control.
Well, see, here's the thing, though. Red Tornado's pragmatic, and I don't know if Kryptonian Martian DNA is, if they can sync, so to speak. So, whenever they would attempt to sync, I can imagine his mindset is just like, I mean, it's not like they're going to get pregnant.
Tom and I actually had a conversation about almost sort of about this.
Because I think clones should be sterile.
Yeah.
But.
And I'm like, I don't know. No, I don't think so. But moving on, it's Black Canary has a stern talking to Miss Martian, and we find her watching a show that looks very suspicious, and it's the culmination of everything Joe has hated about Megan's character thus far.
This doesn't help me not hate it, by the way.
It doesn't?
No, not at all. It makes me sympathetic to her as a character, but it doesn't make it less annoying.
All right, I'll give you that. Where she's watching this show, it's like, oh no, close that, and then she gets the stern talking to by Black Canary, and like it's like through the end of it, Black Canary's less mad at her, but it's it's like, just don't do that again, please.
It's like, I get the image that like she's not even less mad, so to speak. She's just, oh God, Ashley. But I get the image that she's not less mad. She's just like, she's a kid. She didn't know better. Okay. She's like talking herself down mentally the whole time. Like if Megan tried to read her mind, she would feel a wave of rage and anger.
Yeah, it is. And then it goes to it's like everybody getting their mission, and it's a bit of a skinny mission that they're doing, where they got to go into Bialia to stop well the country next to Bialia. Let me just pull up.
Kurak. It's Kurak. It's like
Yeah,
Iraq
Kurak.
Kuwait mixed.
Yes, it is Kurak. Thank you. And whose leader is a close personal friend to Bruce Wayne, which Wally is quick to point out. And this is where we finally get the last piece in place that Wally has indeed known Robin's secret identity this entire time.
Well, they pointed out multiple times that they're best friends. If Robin is going to trust anyone else with his secret identity, it's probably going to be Wally.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because I'm sure the other thing. Well, eventually he's definitely going to trust her with that, I bet. But the thing is, like, I really get the feeling that within like some of the core members, they know who each other are. And before the idea of this team was even formed, like Wally and Robin were friends, and they knew who each other was because Batman and Flash knew who each other was because I'm still remembering the episode of Justice League Unlimited where Lex Luthor and Flash traded identities, and Lex like, at least I can figure out who Flash is.
Do you know why that's hilarious? Because Flash is voiced by Michael Rosenbaum, who plays Lex Luthor in Smallville.
Yeah, that is always a nice little thing, where he gets to voice Lex, because I believe this is after he had left Smallville, but before Smallville ended. So it's this nice little interim. He gets to be Lex before the finale of Smallville.
So,
oh yeah.
One last side note, and it's to the previous episode I forgot to mention. I love how when they're throwing Barry's or Wally's surprise birthday party, that Flash is there, but he's just always standing in the same stance the whole time and never says a word.
Yeah, they don't always want to get Flash's voice actor, which is why it's like Flash is just not speaking a lot of the time.
Well, it's not even that. It's like he's completely unanimated. He's just doing this.
Joe, he's just moving so fast you can't. It just looks like he's staying still.
Yeah,
it's a time duplicate. Like
it's actually it's a speed mirage.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not even there. He's just. It's an after.
It's actually just a statue of the Flash that they left there to make Wally feel better, because the Flash is busy. And all right, so everybody gets together. It's Wally, Robin, Connor, and Megan. And Robin is team leader for this mission, which after failsafe he's not too keen on starting.
But Wally's like, all right, man, promotion.
And of course, like if before failsafe he would have jumped at that opportunity, but now he's like, I'm not so sure about this, but okay.
Especially on something like this, like balance. It's not a bank robbery that he's being the team leader for. It's the future of an entire nation.
Yeah, so they're up against Queen Bee, who has power against men and some women.
And some women.
I'm like I knew it. I knew everybody was going to do that.
Because I love how Batman makes the point of pointing that out. Nobody asked. It's just like, hey, can't Queen Bee control men if she's close enough? And he's just like, and some women.
Yeah.
Like, yes, Batman, we understand. We get it.
it's an attraction thing. About this. But of course, they get everybody into the ship. They fly off to Karak, and they find right at the border there's tanks rolling in on a nature preserve, and they're like, we need to stop this. So
and Robin's like, nope, and they're like, yeep.
And Robin's like, okay, let's go. And then they drop down, stop the tanks, and of course, it is Marie Logan and her son Garfield Logan. Which Tom is not a fan of the fact that this is how they do Beast Boy's origin.
That makes sense. Oh my god, that makes even more sense now.
No,
oh my god.
It doesn't at all. They just rip off She-Hulk's origin. Like,
Well,
I mean,
yes, but what it doesn't matter that they're ripping it off. It makes sense at least.
No.
Like, I'm not saying that other origins wouldn't make sense, and this is a cheesy way to do the origin. But when they're like, yeah, it's because of this, I'm like, okay, that makes sense.
This isn't even the worst of Beast Boy. You'll see.
As a side note, I like to play a little game during this episode called Would Calder Make the Same Decision? And I'd like to believe that while Robin is all like, that's not the mission, we can't do that, Calder would be like, yeah, we can't let those people get hurt.
Yeah, but they in the end they did make the same decision.
Yes.
They took different paths to it, but they made the same decision, which is good.
You look at Robin's wrist and there's a what would Calder do bracelet. He just looks at that when he needs a little motivation.
Just as long as Calder doesn't start doping.
Also, as another side note, is it sad I like Aqualad way more than Aquaman? I feel he's a better fleshed out character.
Oh yeah, Aqualad is a great character, and it's surprising that it's like he's completely original to this show, much like Harley Quinn was to Batman the Animated Series, and then he was able to go have his own version in the comics that's a little different. And
it's I mean, but it's still him. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's as close as we're gonna get.
Yeah, it's like but of course, it's like we find out that Marie Logan was Megan in the show Hello Megan.
We only find out because as soon as Magan meets her, she's like, oh
yeah.
I love the fact that what she tries to do, because she understands how creepy it is that like she's such a huge fan of her for this show, but she's like, oh, I'm such a huge fan of your work with animals. I've followed you for years. And Connor's just like, haven't you only been on Earth a few months?
Well, especially when she just had a conversation with Black Canary about how people don't like to be copied. So really just a green version of this actress.
Yep.
I
get why she's like that. I just think it's funny that the only person that notices it and points it out is Connor.
I also really like how different Marie Logan is to the character of Megan. Just like it's like she just thinks like, oh, Megan was okay. It was a job. I'm nothing like her. Stop asking me these things.
Yep. That was a show. What was it like to be Megan? I don't know. Vapid and insecure.
It's pretty much how any interaction with Jaleel White goes. Yeah.
More common with Stefan or Kel.
Yeah. So, Garfield's has like he's like super excited that he gets to spend all this time with superheroes, and which is a stark contrast to Megan being super excited about being near Megan.
Not just superheroes close to his age. It's the Billy Batson effect all over again.
It is the Billy Batson effect again. And he's like, it's super weird about Miss M and my mom, right? That they look similar. And he pulls out the pilot. Robin should have known this, yeah. That it's like pulls out the pilot episode to Hello Megan. And puts it in, but they have to. There's all of a sudden there's another attack at the animal preserve.
Yep.
And they tell Garfield to stay there while they handle it. He doesn't, and he gets hurt because of it.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's like, and of course he needs O negative blood, which nobody has.
I have.
Oh, really?
Well, Tom, we'll just fly you out to the border of Karak and Bialia, and you can be a donor.
I've got the exact
I was exposed to mad cow disease.
I've got the exact opposite. I've got AB positive. Meaning, it's like my plasma's great, my blood cells are not.
What was it? So yeah, this is the weirdest part involving like the strange explanation of Mars and how Martians work that she goes into, that the transformation takes place on a cellular level.
Yeah, and then for a brief moment, the show becomes Osmosis Jones as we see the transforming blood cells.
I thought I saw Chris Rock.
Yeah, it's like,
but like the question is like, what even is a Martian then? Like, if they can transform themselves on the cellular level, like, can she transform herself so far she no longer has the ability to transform?
I mean, could she transform?
No, that's like, can God build a wall he can't climb?
I mean, I could answer that, but I don't want to on the internet.
It's like, could theoretically Megan transform herself into being fertile for Superboy is the real question.
Oh, could she literally transform herself into Megan?
I don't know. We don't know. Could she? Could she? But Megan, takes a sample of Garfield's bloody nose, and her eyes turn from green to red, and she gives Garfield a blood transfusion.
I would say, and that means the cake's done. It's ready to eat. It's the timer. Ding! Ready to go.
And then, of course, everybody is a little, sad about what's going on in the living room, and they accidentally turn on the episode of Hello Megan, and
all of them are just like,
it's like, maybe it's a coincidence. And then, of course, her love interest named Connor walks in. Hey, remember that pin?
Also, the Hello Megan.
Hey, remember that pin I put in when Megan named Connor?
Yep.
Let's unpull that pin, because here's where it came from.
Oh, yeah.
I remember the first time I watched this, and I was like, I don't like that.
It's like, yeah, that's a little creepy.
Yeah, this episode is like 10 levels of cringe. Like, it's one of those understandable situations where you're like, I see where this is coming from. Knowing what you might know about the character, that doesn't make it less cringy. It's back to the Black Canary thing. She's still really angry, but she's like, you're not human. You don't get the, was it silent knowledge or the secret knowledge information? You don't know that that's weird to humans. Okay. Unspoken rules.
Yes, unspoken rules is the correct. I just realized that I haven't had the chat up in a while. Tom Zambino saying that I keep supplying member berries this episode because I brought up Osmosis Jones.
I like Ashley's at one point. Kryptonian and Martian DNA just won't splice.
Yeah.
The South Park reference there.
I like me complaining about numbers.
Of course, we've got. We find out that it's not Queen Bee specifically controlling the president. It is in fact Simon again, because we get Simon.
Of course, because it's a Miss Martian focused episode, and Simon is the most powerful telepath to face her that we've ever seen. So you gotta show back up.
Yeah, and
but
they're
do you think Martian Manhunter could take Simon?
I don't know.
Probably because he's more practiced.
Yeah,
he's more skilled.
He is more skilled, but Megan's more powerful.
But Megan just has more raw.
Yeah, I think chances are good. The idea behind someone like Miss Martian is once she has more practice under her belt on how to use her telepathy and stuff, she could just dominate Martian Manhunter all the time and a telepathic. I mean, she did already.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. She's the Gohan.
He is the Gohan.
She goes. So then everybody's like, okay, we gotta go to the president now. So they go to the president. Megan faces off against Simon, and everybody else goes for the president. They're able to snap him out of it. It's like, where's my daughter? What's going on?
Where's Simon?
Where's Simon? And
confirming it.
Yeah, it's like, oh, yep, okay, yeah, he's been under control. So everybody gets together. Megan goes up against Simon, and Simon's like, why don't we just show everybody who you really are? And of course, they're able to show that Megan is in fact a white Martian,
which looks really different than it did in previous iterations, I think.
It's like this was the first time I'd ever actually seen a white Martian, so I'm like, that's it. And it also looks similar to the way that they do it on Supergirl as well.
Okay.
Because they're just kind of very monstrous looking, and you could tell from the looks like, yeah, that's the kind of face that you would, I don't know, say is a monster on a planet.
Well,
Yeah.
when your mouth is technically closed and your teeth and gums are still exposed, that's pretty terrifying.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna get back to this later, but green Martians are pretty monstrous looking too. They just take a more humanoid form, which bothers me later.
Yeah, a little bit.
So I don't, especially like not Young Justice, the Justice League stuff. When you got to see him kind of go back into that form, he was definitely like scary.
The weird pointy head and
just the long limbs.
I mean, obviously, Guru just wanted to wipe out the albino Namekians. Nobody appreciates the Team 4-Star reference. All right, fine. We'll move on.
Drank all of it.
All right.
No.
Okay. Okay. So, of course, the rest of the team, after waking the president up, goes after Megan, and she brain blasts them so they don't see her.
Which doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. It's like this isn't the episode where they learn this secret out. I mean, come on. We still got what, 5 episodes left at this point, and people still have to think maybe she's the mole. So that get to another mind battle between her and Simon, where in the Mindscape she is still Megan, and he's like, "It's like, why don't you show who you really are? This is who I am," which is a nice little, what you look like versus who you are sort of argument. And
yes,
because Megan would look like that in the Mindscape.
If she really believes that's who she is inside to her.
Yes,
and that means to her that is how she sees herself and everything else. It makes sense. It really does, psychologically speaking.
I like imagining her as a white Martian though, like laying on a bed with her feet kicked up, watching the cartoon originally,
eating the Martian equivalent of popcorn.
It's like,
yeah, exactly, just rocks.
Yeah.
So this brings to mind too, if she's really a white Martian, did she also lie to Martian Manhunter, and he's just gullible enough because he has so many freaking nieces and nephews?
I don't think that.
What I'm getting at, or is there some sort of distant relation situation?
I see. Here's the thing. I don't think that she's lying to Martian Manhunter. I think she's lying to most other Martians because she's family with so many green Martians that it's just easier to masquerade herself as green than to reveal herself as white.
I mean, white Martians are a completely different race. They wouldn't be related to green Martians at all.
Okay.
But the whole thing is, John even said that, like, when in her vision, when like everyone was finding out that she was a white Martian, John was there, and he was like, "Oh, there's no place for you here." Like, so I don't think he knows at all.
Well,
that's a possibility.
Simon screwing with her head.
Yeah.
No, I think that was her projecting what her fears were, not him projecting what her fears were.
I think it's a little bit of both.
It doesn't matter. She still lies about her true form.
Yeah.
She doesn't learn anything.
Yeah, because she's able to take out Simon and make him a vegetable for a bit.
Yeah.
Complete with drool. It's like the drool was a nice touch. She's able to pass off the fact that Simon is the one that brain blasted them, and they sort of create this whole sort of fake thing where she pretends to be Queen Bee and goes very outlandish and bruh. How dare you defy me? And it's just like it is a weird way to end the episode. I will say, it's just like.
But see, that's not how we end the episode.
No, of course not.
Because she comes in and they're like, "So what do you really look like if Megan's not who you really look like?" And she makes herself look kind of like Jean.
Yeah.
With human-ish eyes. So
just made a green Martian. Like, that would have been so much more convincing.
Yeah, a little bit. Because it's like I don't know if they know that that's also not what Jean looks like.
I think Robin would at least know. He's known Batman for so long that I'm sure he's seen a file on Jean. I mean, Batman knows he could take out Jean with a match. You don't think Robin knows that?
Yeah. It's really hard to tell what Batman
allusion
keeps
to the
close
next
to the
episode.
vest. Like what? It's really hard to tell what Batman keeps to himself and doesn't share with other people.
And it's like everything is all nice and wrapped up. You know, Marie's like, you know, Logan loves you so much. It's like since you saved his life, they say you're you know blood siblings now. And then she, of course, this Martian goes to go check up on Logan, and who's waiting there but Queen Bee?
Yep.
And she's like, Simon's not the only one who knows your true form. Now you can't say anything about what's going on, because if you do, my poor little thrall heel will have to hurt himself.
Yep.
It just sucks so much because she just had an opportunity.
Yeah.
Like literally 3 seconds before this to like come clean.
Yeah.
And now she's caught.
Yep.
It's like the team's not going to care. I was like showing cards on the table. The team is not going to care. Connor's not going to care. Nobody is going to care. It is a little bit more padding so that when everybody's like laying their secrets on the ground, that she still has a secret to lay on the ground.
To me, the only reason that I could see people caring is because of the fact that she kept it a secret for so long, and when she had a chance to tell them that they still were like, or she still kept it a secret even then. Like this scene where she pretends to be another looking green Martian person, whatever, is the reason they would be upset. I think that's me as a you know human being. Like you didn't trust us enough when cards were on the table previously. So,
right.
The thing is, like, she can see everyone else's surface thoughts. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like this whole slanted advantage where she knows almost a lot of details about everyone else, and they literally have just been lied to the entire time. They can't really lie to her.
All right. And of course, you know, we had our Miss Martian might be the mole episode. Now let's move on to the Superboy might be the mole episode. Where
for the record, I did not enjoy the Superboy part of this plot, except for like the very beginning of it.
Except for Match. Bizarro Jr.
All right. So, well, like I do mostly when we have two separate plots, I talk about one, then I talk about the other. So I figure we might as well start off with the just purely entertaining part of the episode, where it's just the Justice League talking about potential new members.
Yep. I have two things I love about this whole collection of scenes. It's when, and I mentioned this previously, like we don't really know what Batman plays close to the chest and what he shares with others. Because when they talk about Captain Marvel being not a 9-year-old, they're like, yeah, we didn't know that until recently, and blah, blah, blah. And Batman's like, I knew the whole time, like when I met him. And everyone's like, what? Why didn't you say anything? Not your business.
Yeah.
And then I also love when they bring up the third Green Lantern. I think it's Guy Gardner.
Yep.
To be a member of the Justice League. The other two are just like, no. But we could no.
But what about no?
Like I don't know much about Guy Gardner, but the humor of that joke is the fact that like unanimously the other two Green Lanterns are like no, and they won't hear anything about it.
No, because they know Guy Gardner. They know that's a bad idea.
Well, yeah, I'm sure they know. I, as
comics,
a viewer, don't necessarily know that.
Even in the comics, Guy Gardner was so standoffish that like he challenged Batman to a fight, and Batman laid him out in one punch. Like, and he's a Green Lantern, so he has his moments later. Like I know Eric, like wait, dude, Green Lantern show. Were you the one talking about that? Or was that
I like the Green Lantern show.
Yeah, he becomes a Red Lantern later in the comics and stuff. Like he gets his comeuppance. But in this version where he has the weird haircut, and yeah, this one's lame. I also the whole thing with Billy Batson, like some of the other heroes may have had a problem having an 8-year-old on the team. But Bruce Wayne is famous for weaponizing children, so
and
I don't think.
And Wonder Woman is quick to point that out.
I also do want to point out that the fact that people are still questioning whether or not Marvel should be a full-fledged member of the Justice League, wasn't it just like 3 episodes previously he proved how useful he is as a member? If the Atom is useful because of his size, Captain Marvel's unique ability to be both a kid and an adult is like a super useful asset too in some cases.
Yeah, so I guess it's like other than the team members that they're talking about, they are talking about the Atom, Plastic Man. I guess they talked about Blue Devil a bit off screen. Red Arrow, obviously.
Icon,
and of course they also, discussed about Captain Marvel because they kept the secret from him, and they talked about Dr. Fate because he's not Zatara anymore.
Yep.
Which is another reason why I think it's smart for them to bring on Captain Marvel. Like, you don't have Zatara anymore. Fate's doing his own thing.
Yeah.
And you kind of need like a magic powerhouse on the team, especially like if there's a villain like Zod. Zod is super weak against magic,
Yeah.
so it's smart to have more magic people on the team.
And it's nice brought up that like Fate. It's like Zatara really wants Fate to stay on the Justice League because he doesn't trust Fate.
Yep. He wants other people to watch Fate.
Yeah. It's like, if you could find a way to get me out of here, and if Fate's not the best for the world, get me out of here.
Yep.
Because like if anybody can take on Fate, it's Batman.
Now Naboo has to be the one to take off the helmet, right? No one can pull off the helmet.
Yeah, I think that's true.
In theory, if they found a magical way to do it, they probably could as well.
Yeah.
Just a big power magnet.
And then that's like they also discuss each individual member of the team. Like Fate talks about Wally and Aqualad because he was, bonded to both of them, and then he's also like, no, not Zatanna, because that's still Zatara shining through. He's like, no, she's not ready.
Yeah, I do like that they play Fate off as a hybrid of 2 personalities, because they do it with the voice really well, but they also end up doing it with the personality really well.
Yeah, it's like this. It's like I've said it before. It's like I was introduced to Fate in Batman: The Brave and the Bold, but this is a much better adaptation of Fate, I would say, because like you understand so much about that character with this, and it's like when Batman: Brave and the Bold, he's like, I'm this magic good guy for order.
Yep.
And throwback when.
What are you saying, Tom?
When Zatanna put on the costume, the Fate thing, I love that she got like high heels, and like I thought the Fate female costume looked awesome. So
yeah,
that's cool.
It looked pretty badass.
Naboo is like definitely a masculine presence, but the host body really determines what the body is going to look like. That's interesting.
I had kind of wished that when Calder put the helmet on, that it would have looked more aquatic and all that jazz too.
Or since his tattoos are in fact magic, that the tattoos actually shine, or actually became a part of the costume as well. That would have been cool, and like he could actually make his Fate beams or whatever like come out of the tattoos. That would have been cool.
Yep,
I agree.
And then of course they all vote on who they should add into the Justice League. We don't hear any of the results just yet, but we at least got to assume that Fate and Captain Marvel were brought back in, because nobody said no. Nobody disagreed. Neither of them disagreed, so it's like they liked the results.
Yep.
All right, so now we got to move on to the meat of the episode, which is Superboy's trip through Cadmus. Now, episode starts off. It's Thanksgiving. Everybody's making their Thanksgiving food. Wally's stealing berries, and then he's like, "Oh yeah, I better get home. My parents will kill me if I'm late for Thanksgiving. Bye."
Fistful of cranberries before he leaves. Can I just point out real quick how weird it is that Zatanna has an actual spell prepped and knows and practiced it. Because she pointed out back in like 18 or 19 or whichever one that it's not just the words. You have to prep and practice and train, and there's energy involved, et cetera, et cetera. But she's got a spell to perfectly season a turkey.
Oh, this is not the first Thanksgiving meal she's made. She did all the cooking for Zatara.
It's
that could have
she
been
did
a whole family recipe too.
She did bring that up.
There's a spell to perfectly season a turkey.
Yes,
less
there
that
is.
she knows it. It's less that she knows it, and more that it exists.
I mean, would you not use that spell?
Oh, I would. Again.
Yeah, exactly. You would use it at least once a year.
I'd make more turkey.
An interesting fight.
What's up?
An interesting fight just to watch would be Zatanna and Mr. Misplaced.
Yeah.
Because she'd be speaking backwards the whole time, trying to get him to speak backwards.
Yep.
Yeah, true. That would be very interesting.
I don't know. I just thought about it. Cadmus.
All right. Yeah, so Cadmus. So Superboy hears a frequency that said, it's like, oh, it's like with Superman off-world, you're the only one who can hear this. Come meet me in Washington, D.C. So Superboy heads off to D.C. And like Ms. Martian's like, wait, aren't you going to help? He's like, remember the last time I tried to help? And she's like, okay, yeah, I'm just going to walk Wolf. God.
Oh.
He's such an angsty teenager.
But I'm just going to point out real quick, I love Wolf. I love that he's taken on all these strays, and Wolf has his own little personality, and Sphere does too. And it's just I love Superboy's little entourage.
Yeah, Wolf and Sphere are great. They're probably MVPs of the team. But of course, the voice in his head just so happens to be Lex Luthor, who is the new head of Cadmus.
That we find out he isn't even the new head of Cadmus.
He was the old head of Cadmus. And it's just like, Cadmus has a new Superman clone. You should go check it out. And it's like, of course, Superboy's just not trusting of Luthor because, nobody should ever be trusting of Luthor. Not even when he's a hero, you just shouldn't trust him. I don't know how he was able to be voted in as president. Oh, I think I know.
Are you kidding me? You don't know how? Look at
that was the joke. That was the joke. I would.
He's more qualified, at least.
It's like of the fictional presidents, I would prefer both Lex Luthor and Frank Underwood over our current situation.
Yeah. But what about Loki? Because he gets presidency in the Marvel universe at one point.
What about Lex Luthor is the elevation of mankind. He wants to be like equal footing with superheroes. That is not a horrible
aspiration.
No, not at all. He genuinely cares about people.
But he just goes about doing what he wants to do in a very bad fashion.
Yes.
Well, he also spites Superman halfway through. He ruins his own shit.
Yeah, in Justice League Unlimited, he only ran for president just to tick Superman off, which is just the greatest line in that show. I ran for president just to tick Superman off.
Yep.
Love that shit.
Lex Luthors we saw on the main screen were more like the animated Lex Luthors. I always thought they were much stronger.
Yeah.
I will also point out that I think it's hilarious that Lex Luthor is Superman's villain, because if he was Batman's villain, Batman would have uncovered everything he's done and reported to the proper authorities early enough, and then also stopped him, because Batman is supposed to be a better detective. So. But
also, Lex Luthor has no reason to go after Batman. It's like, BVS aside, he has no reason to mess with Batman because, like his MO is to make humans better, and Batman's already a pretty good human.
Yeah.
And Tom's staring disapprovingly. And of course it's muted. Probably Weed Whacker's still outside. He's just like, I wish I could say something right now.
Or crappy neighbors.
Or yeah.
I'm watching the chat for you, Tom, because I assume that's what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Luther isn't in BVS. There we go. That's what he wanted to say.
That's the Luther we're getting. Even if
Yeah.
it's not Lex Luther, even if it's Alexander Luther, it's the Luther we're getting.
Yeah, at least I didn't say Lex isn't it. I said Luther.
Yeah, it doesn't matter that it's not the classic Telly Savalas or whatever freaking Luther he was, whoever played him in the original movies or the animated series or whatever. It's the Luther we're getting,
Yeah.
even if it's not the Lex Luthor.
Much like Jared,
deserve. It's the Luther we need.
Much like Jared Leto is the Joker we're getting.
Okay.
He might be pulling out.
I hope so. It's like they could pull there's three Jokers out and like be able to recast him. I hope so.
I'm not even against the idea of like the
I hope so.
mobster style Joker, because the Joker did have like a criminal empire at one point. That's not what I was offended by. His just portrayal was just so bad. It was so bad.
It was so bad.
There's many things about that movie that I haven't even watched because I know I don't need to watch it.
Tom Zambino is actually saying that he would much rather prefer to watch Alexander Luther turn into the Joker.
He could have. I was about to call him Mark Zuckerberg. That's funny.
Mark Zuckerberg.
He probably could have been a better Joker than a quote unquote Alexander Luther.
All right, so we get Jesse Eisenberg, Lex Luthor against Andrew Garfield, Spider-Man. It's just.
I like Andrew Garfield, Spider-Man.
And no, if we had that happen, it's just a reuniting Social Network.
I see.
And then Dick in the Box just shows up.
And then he shows up, and then of course the Lone Ranger then shows up twice. Because he was playing twins in that movie.
Yeah.
But we got to actually talk about this episode, guys. We can't put it off.
Yep.
So Superboy gets to Cadmus, confronts Guardian, saying, "Why is there another Superman clone?" He's like, "There's not another Superman clone. We stopped all cloning." And then the scientist lady kind of storms off. Guardian takes off his helmet and reveals that he looks exactly like Roy. He's like, "Well, he is my nephew."
So there's a yeah. I can't even really get into it now.
No, don't get into it.
So
yeah.
I'm not going to contribute much to this because I hated this part of this episode.
Yeah. So
Guardian. So oh my god. Sorry guys. This is the worst day.
Yeah.
It happens. As a side note, also, there is a hint to some future stuff going on in this episode. I'm not going to say what it is because it'll give away too much.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a hint dropped by someone in this episode about what's going on.
Yeah. So of course, what's his face? The xenomorph that helped Superboy escape has this telekinetic conversation with them. I was like, all the xenomorphs are free, but they're not really free. So it's like, is there another Superman clone? He's like, I'll keep looking for it. So, and it's just Superboy's adventures through Cadmus, and eventually he makes it back to his own old pod. He listens around and he hears machinery going on behind like some whatever was going on in that room. I don't know why that room looked like it was taken over by the flood. It just did. But he's able to pull off whatever's there and reveal that there's another hidden door. He opens that up and he finds Match, who is another Superman clone.
That is pure Kryptonian, I believe.
Pure Kryptonian DNA, and it is very unstable because they, for whatever reason, couldn't get a full sample of Superman's DNA. I don't know.
It's like from his toenail.
Yeah, probably.
It's
So
not all there.
and Luthor's able to reveal that Match is full Kryptonian, which is why Match can fly and do everything. But Superboy is revealed to be half human.
Which I think they revealed that relatively early on.
It's like I definitely have talked about it, forgetting that they didn't actually say that until this episode, probably. But he is, in fact, half human. And Luthor has created these shields, which are the stickers that Tom and I alluded to last week, that allow him to suppress his human side and give him the full abilities of Superman for 1 hour. 1 hour.
So now we have a very special episode of Young Justice where Superman's or Superboy's addicted to drugs.
Yeah. I mean, usually they kind of save those sort of stories for Roy, but might as well have an addiction storyline with
Look, Roy's
Connor.
been through enough.
Yeah, Roy's got enough on his plate. He doesn't need a drug storyline as well.
Did he say where the human component comes from in this episode?
They do, but not till the end.
Not yet.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure I didn't say it out loud.
Which I was going to throw this out there. The beginning when he meets Lex, and then afterwards are my favorite parts of the Superboy arc. It's just all the crap inside Cadmus bores me to tears.
Yeah, it's like once you had all the Cadmus stuff being really exciting in the first 2 episodes, it's just we're going back to Cadmus, and there's another Superboy clone. But what did you think about that Undercity of the xenomorphs?
I didn't care.
You didn't care?
I didn't care.
Give me
I'm supposed to care.
I mean, it did remind me a lot of Undertown from Ben 10 Omniverse.
Ben 10, yeah, that's what I was saying.
I ultimately ended up not caring at all because I'm supposed to care about the plight of the xenomorphs when we literally only have one xenomorph we have a personality from. So I don't see them as people. I see them as literally almost like organic machines because we haven't. I mean, they were even given names, but I didn't even get the impression that he responded, quote unquote.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I get the image that it's saying, and I understand where they're coming from because it's slavery, but I don't that as a storytelling mechanic, we've never been given the idea that the xenomorphs are actually people. Exactly.
Right.
I think one of them talks, but everyone else kind of seem like workhorses.
It's Double X. Double X is the only one, and he's the one doing all this stuff. And it's just I get it. He wants freedom for his people, like Superboy had, and I sympathize with that idea. But it's not told really well in the story, so I just don't care.
So who do we want to fight? Xenomorphs or xenomorphs?
Yeah, xenomorphs.
Well, xenomorphs, unless Double X was involved, and then possibly the xenomorphs.
Or if Superboy was involved.
But then what we might have is some xenomorph crossovers, and there are some of those big bulky xenomorphs. So that's kind of scary.
Yeah, it's all my fault because I accidentally said xenomorphs earlier.
That's why I was like, is that what they're called? I can't remember.
No, they're not. They're not. And then Tom Zambino calling out to our episode of Fan Friction, where I won xenomorphs being in Ben 10 Alien Force.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, I know. And that's why I won the point. All right, so...
Can we talk about the reveal yet?
Yeah, we can talk about the reveal. He's able to...
Oh my god, Lex Luthor isn't his father, but he's his daddy.
Oh, God.
Was he going to be Mary Poppins, y'all?
Oh, my God. Why did you...
Okay, so anyone who read the comic books and is familiar with Superboy, especially Mon-El, knew this was coming. There's just a comic book cover with Superboy shaving his head so he would look like Lex.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so excited when I first saw this episode because I didn't know how they were going to treat him. I didn't know if they were going to treat him like the Metropolis kid, Mon-El, and for them to kind of he's just you kind of understand his internal struggle a little bit more once you find that out.
Oh yeah,
Lex Luthor and Superman are just.
It's not even us as viewers understand it. I think he starts understanding it more.
Oh yeah, I have a joke prepared. I would like everybody to be quiet for this joke that I prepared. Superboy is the result of Superman Lex Luthor / fic.
Yeah.
Oh, that went over terribly.
Some good jokes do, though.
Yeah. Also, it's Superboy's two dads.
Yeah, Ashley was saying that in the chat. Yeah, and it's really funny too because once you see that, you actually start seeing Lex's features drawn into Superboy. Like they've been there all along. It's like
Yeah.
the Would You Kindly in BioShock that you start like you start realizing all the times that you would have noticed it, and you're just like, oh
Ashley appreciated the joke.
Oh shit! What was I about to say? I also think this is a big reason why Superman doesn't trust Superboy. I think he feels something is off.
like he
Yeah.
suspects it.
Yeah, it's like these past two episodes are, and of course next episode as well. It's like these are all the cards falling into place.
Well, and it would make sense too because we've already been shown that the league knows more about what's really going on than they're even telling the team, which I think is dumb to.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it is very dumb.
Superman would destroy Lex.
I think the best part of New 52 is Lex joining Justice League. It makes sense.
Which reminds me of, was it Crisis on Two Earths, the animated movie, where in that world all the Justice League characters are the villains and all the Legion of Doom characters are actually superheroes, where Lex is like the Superman equivalent because he's got powered armor and stuff, and you have the Joker is the Jester. And I loved that. I thought it was so awesome.
Yeah, it is. It is.
But what I was going to say was, like, we see it, like, he may know that, like, they were using, like, that he may have known Lex was dealing with this kind of stuff and that his DNA was being thrown around to make Superboy. So that could be why he didn't trust him to begin with.
Well, yeah, we haven't seen Bizarro in this setting yet. So if Bizarro exists and he's not the alien version,
this may be our Bizarro.
Superman would definitely know that he was a clone attempt.
Well, and like I was saying, like this may be much like Alexander Luthor is the only Lex we're possibly getting in the BVS universe. Unsure as at this point. This may be our Bizarro is the clone.
Yeah, match. Because I mean, he even has the backwards S that he lasered onto his chest.
Into his chest, yeah.
I thought it was more of a nod than a Bizarro origin. Otherwise, why call a match?
Yeah, I would say. If anything, I would say he's Bizarro Superboy.
Yeah. Yep. Which is fine. I like that.
But of course, we should start wrapping up soon. So, Joe, what I would like to ask is, given the fact that they're going to have an Artemis might be the mole episode next week, who do you think is the mole?
I refuse to answer because I already know who the mole is.
Oh, dang it! You looked ahead.
No. I kind of...
You read ahead.
It's not that I looked ahead, is we watched. And that's why I said in this episode, they give you a hint as to what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Darn it.
Sorry.
Obviously, the mole is Billy Batson.
And how they reveal it, I think, is really cool.
Yes, yeah. So you're all caught up with season 1 at this point, then?
I believe so. I think, yes, completely.
Yeah. All right. Cool. So it means you're all prepared for next week, and while I'm getting ready to talk about next week, why don't you guys all go through the stuff you want to plug?
Okay. Tom, would you like to go first?
I'm one of the co-creators over at Odd Shape Channel, responsible for such shows as Odd Shape Panel, The Night's Watch, hosted by Cal the Kingslater, and Twin Peaks, which is our Twin Peaks recap show. Those are all back-to-back the next 3 days. Monday, we're going to have OSP Q&A, along talking about recent news. Specifically, probably going to talk about Deadpool 2, as well as Glow getting a Season 2. And a bunch of other stuff. If you have a question for us, please tweet us at OddShape Panel on Twitter, hashtag ToughOSP. That's UFF. And oddshapechannel.com, and our channel is Odd Shape Channel. Then we got Night's Watch 9 p.m. Tuesday and Twin Peaks 8 p.m. on Wednesday. And other stuff in the pipeline, but I don't want to get too ahead of myself. Joe?
I am half of the BFF group where we review movies because fan friction. I'm host that show with my wife Ashley, and we are also working on other stuff. But currently, we are working on our BFF of Avatar: The Last Airbender as the last part of our summer backlog, our summer binge backlog thing. So we'll be doing that live next Sunday, probably sometime in late afternoon. I'm going to get with you and Tom about scheduling to make sure we don't conflict with your shows, because we don't want to do that. It's rude. It's rude. And we are also working on a few other things in the pipe for our Geek to My Nerd channel, which you can find us on Twitter and YouTube as well. We've been doing some streaming in the past, and we need to get back to that, but just kind of rough right now. School's starting up soon, and we'll figure out a better schedule once that happens. But we have some other shows that we would like to talk about eventually once we have it a little more concreted down.
And there is
because
one.
Joe brought up Ashley, I have to bring up Kimber. We are, I mean, the four of us together are like the perfect double date. So
I'm so excluded.
you got your hat, man.
Yeah, I know. I'll keep going.
You go everywhere together.
All right, keep plugging Kimber stuff.
All the stuff is me. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday this week.
I got a TV three-way coming out with Screen Mayhem and Matthew Whitaker.
Phrasing.
Yeah, that's the name of the show.
There's a ghost. TV three-way.
I know.
And Joe,
TV.
Isn't there one last thing that you want to plug that Jack has already announced? So you might as well just say it now.
Oh, God.
Oh man, I totally forgot about that. So on the 27th, Fanfiction returns, and I'll be in the season premiere episode fighting longtime rival Langley M. Neely and a surprise guest of Billy Business from TV Fights, and I'm super excited. I'm super excited to lose to those two fine gentlemen.
Right. Yep. And because of that, we won't have Just Whelmed that week because I don't want to overload Joe, and there's no point in starting season 2 of the show without him. So we're going to take that week off, and then we'll be back the week after. But next week, we will be covering episode 23, Insecurity, episode 24, Performance, episode 25, Usual Suspects, and episode 26, Old Acquaintances.
I wonder which one's the mole episode. I can't tell.
So if I swear to God, if Kaiser Soze isn't the mole, I'm gonna be super upset.
He is.
And we keep talking about Kevin Spacey this episode. I don't know why, because he's Frank Underwood. He played Lex Luthor, and
I can tell you why we keep talking about Kevin Spacey, because he's fantastic.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but what's in the box?
What is in the box? That's a different show.
Yeah.
That's what we should name a 7 recap show.
I mean, Screen Junkies already took that name, so.
I know.
Anyway, this has been Just Whelmed, and I hope to see you guys all next week. Bye.